this time, recognize the gentlelady from California, Ms. Capps, for 5 minutes.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and thank you, Secretary Moniz, for being here today for your testimony. I'm a longtime supporter of the Department of Energy's efforts to develop clean, renewable energy technologies. And of the many renewables out there, wind and solar are obviously the furthest along. But there are some other promising renewables in the works, including marine and hydrokinetic, or MHK, technologies. As you know, federal investments are crucial to advancing these technologies to commercial viability. And I'll quote the DOE, as you stated in your 2015 budget justification. DOE plays a critical role in MHK technologies because of their nascent stage of development, which is similar to that of wind and solar technologies 20 years ago. I have 3 questions around this topic, pretty specific or brief, if you will. Could you expand upon this point briefly? Why is DOE's involvement so important for developing these technologies at this early stage?
Well, I think, as you said, as with others, the early stage is very hard to attract private sector funding, at least if it's not leveraged with some public funding.
You can recall that perhaps I can, that I raised this issue with you last September during a hearing as well. And you responded by saying that DOE was looking for ways to increase support, just as you just did, for what you referred to as these forgotten renewables, if you will. Given this perspective, I was puzzled to see a 25% decrease for MHK in DOE's budget request this year. This was particularly troubling when compared to the 20% increase for the Energy Efficiency and Renewable Energy EERE office overall. So what's with this divergence? Why did the relatively small MHK budget get such a sharp reduction?
Well, we did increase in terms of the other renewables
yes.
in geothermal and in water.
Yes.
Within water, what the program did was rebalance because of what's viewed as the relatively near-term major micro-hydro opportunities, so they rebalanced. But I've said already here, I'm happy to re-examine the balance of that with members who are interested.
I appreciate that, because I'd like to question, and say I liked the old balance before. Some of my research companies did as well. It wouldn't take much to make a really big difference for these MHK industries right in such a critical time, as you know, in their development. I encourage the department to make these investments if you can. But even with this limited funding, I applaud you for making such good progress. In my district alone, DOE has funded 2 promising ocean energy projects. A local company called Aquantis is leveraging DOE investments to develop a cutting-edge turbine to harness energy from ocean currents. And Cal Poly University in San Luis Obispo in my district received funding to start planning a promising wave energy demonstration project off the coast of California, Central Coast. I'm proud to say that Cal Poly is one of only 2 projects selected in the country. Now I want to ask you if DOE plans to provide continued support for these demonstration projects to help them get up and running. It's that critical, as you acknowledge and I agree, that what they call it the dark phase of trying to attract funding from the outside when it's a little bit more of a risk, but so much promise is held there in this area. What are the next steps?
Well, I can assure you, first of all, I'll go back and look at those projects. I'm not up to on the specifics, and we'll get back to you in terms of how that looks going forward.
I appreciate that, because I believe, as many of the folks who've done the research in my district have demonstrated to me, this holds great promise for the future, but it isn't yet to that stage that solar and wind are now even.
It's longer term.
That's right. And so I would encourage you to explore in this direction. I thank you very much for being here.
Gentlelady yields back the balance for time.
Yes. Oh, I'm sorry. I do.
Okay.
Yes.